represented his country at the World Cup of Darts. He's Gibraltar's own Hot Fuzz, Anthony Lopez.
Tell me what you gonna do, what you gonna do. Yeah. Bad boys, what you gonna do? What you gonna do when they come for you? Bad boys, what you gonna do? What you gonna do when they come for you? When you were 8 and you had bad traits, you go to school and learn the golden rule. So why are you acting like a bloody fool? If you get hot, then you must get cool. Bad boys, what you gonna do? Or what you gonna do when they come for you? Bad boys, what you gonna do? Or what you gonna do when they come for you? You chuck it on that one, you chuck it on this one, you chuck it on your mother.
Anthony's opponent is a West and South European qualifier. From Germany, Rosie Michael Rosenauer.
Es gibt ein Hoch auf das, was uns vereint. Auf diese Zeit, ein Hoch auf uns, auf dieses Leben, auf den Moment, der immer bleibt. Ein Hoch auf uns, auf jetzt und ewig, auf einen Tag, Unendlichkeit.
Well, we have one Gibraltar player through to the second day of action here at the Gibraltar Darts Trophy. Anthony Lopez has a chance to double up and join Dyson Parodi in the last 32 of the tournament. The local copper has not had ideal preparation for this year's Gibraltar Darts Trophy. He didn't have ideal preparation for the qualifiers last night because he had a motorbike accident where he catapulted himself over some bloke's car. His bike is not in a good state, just a week after buying it. His foot is probably in a worse state, which is why he had a very slow walk on or hobble on to the stage for his game with Michael Rosenauer. The European Championship is coming up in Göttingen, but no Germans will be there unless Michael Rosenauer makes the final this weekend. Maybe the semi-final will be enough, but probably the final. It is unlikely, but it was unlikely that Rosie would make the final day of action at the International Darts Open, and he managed to do that with wins over Mike De Decker and Christoph Ratajski. Anthony Lopez has only ever won one game at the history of the Gibraltar Darts Trophy. That was against a fellow Gibraltarian. Can he break his duck? Can Michael Rosenauer make it 2 opening wins out of 2 in his last 2 European Tour events? We shall find out over potentially the next 11 legs. Took 11 legs to determine the outcome of Lopez versus Keegan Brown.
First leg is Michael to throw first. Game on.
That was a massive game for the European Championship. Danny Noppert has just knocked John Henderson out of the European Championship, but he will not be going himself unless he can beat Michael Smith in his next game. Michael Rosenauer needs a heroic run, the like of which we have rarely seen on the Euro Tour. Otherwise, there will be 0 German players at the European Championship in Germany.
A little bit odd to say the least that there'll be no
59.
German participants if Rosie doesn't go all the way to the end game, because Max Hopp has not played his best on the European Tour this year.
100
But Rosie has just showed us how to do it.
40 for by 180. Ladies and gentlemen, Michael Rosenauer. He can be very, very good, and then very, very poor, and then very, very good again. You just
95.
don't know.
Well, he's been around a very long time. He's one of the godfathers of German darts with the likes of Andy Krökel.
60.
When German steel tip darts wasn't at its best, they were flying the flag so hard, and everybody's playing soft tip. They're trying to get younger players into it, and then the Euro Tour came around. All of a sudden, we had
45.
Schindler and Hopp and Christian Bunser start to get involved, and people start to forget about Rosie and the likes of GNR Tut.
Andre Velder, of
55.
course, was one of the great talents from Germany back in the day, but just don't see him anymore. Rosie still doing his thing. Still turning up and playing, 53 years young.
Younger than Steve Beaton, so that says something. And you mentioned Velga. He was the anti-Mervyn King. He'd turn up half an hour before a game. Just goes to show how long Rosie's been around. His dart manufacturer hasn't manufactured those shirts for about a decade. He's held on to a supply of them, that's for sure.
40. Michael Uruguay, 83.
Treble 17. No need to go 16 and bull here. Double 18 will do it.
65.
Well, not quite, but Lopez some way behind. It's always a weird one when you've got a player with a bad foot injury. Yes, it's obviously a hindrance, but sometimes it can actually help in a way.
18.
You don't have to think that far back. For an example,
Yeah,
Rosenauer pins double 9.
Michael Rosenauer.
Are you thinking about
Second
Whitlock
leg is
against
Anthony to
Dennis
throw
Smith?
first.
well, I mean, that
Game
was
on.
one of them immediately sprung to mind, but the one even much more recent than that was Michael Smith, who admittedly it wasn't a foot injury, it was a groin injury, but he couldn't walk properly. And he went to the UK Open, and because he couldn't
100.
walk, he was stock still. Any bad habits like walking on his last start, things like that, just did not do it. He just stood there. He was like a howitzer. You just set him up,
81.
and then he was absolutely deadly once you'd actually got him in place.
He's a bit like one of those golf swinging robots.
Yeah.
Everything just stood still, and the only thing that moved were the things that needed to move.
Yeah, it can actually help, but I don't think it is helping Anthony Lopez at the minute. And as always, when you've got a physical injury, you can play, you can practice, you can think, oh, I can get through this, and then you get into a game,
45.
and if things start going against you, it starts to hurt more, and you notice it more, and it becomes an excuse. Just human nature.
I was talking to Anthony a few hours ago and asked him how his foot was, and he said it was in pretty bad shape. And he said,
50.
I had to go to work this morning, otherwise I wasn't able to come tonight.
Yeah, he's local copper. Hence the nickname. Although he's got like a sort of Lego man riot police or policeman in riot gear in the back of his shirt. I cannot imagine they have many riots to deal with in Gibraltar, if I'm honest.
100.
Don't tempt fate, Dan. Yeah, it's one of the best nicknames in darts and one of the best shirts for me.
I thought you'd like that shirt.
105.
Understated design. It's got a little bit about it. It fits him well.
He has
Nothing
got
worse than a dart shirt that doesn't fit well.
He has got himself on the dart shirt, though. Are you a fan of that? And, like,
No.
you never had Paul Nicholson on the shirt. You don't need
83.
to. You're wearing it.
170.
Yeah, I don't need to look at myself twice.
Yeah. Rosie wants another of those. Ooh, not going to happen.
98.
Rosie looking
Anthony
for red.
Uruguay, 127.
Looking for the and game shot, Anthony Lopez. One treble needed.
Chance goes immediately.
26. Michael Uruguay,
See that
72.
he's in physical discomfort and mental anguish as well. As he may be staring at a 2-0 deficit right now. If double 12 goes in for Michael.
48.
Winner of this
Anthony
one
Uruguay,
faces the
101.
number 2 seed Ian White. That will be a tough task for anybody. Treble 19 leaves double 12. Oh, hello. What's he doing? Double 15.
It's a new one on me. But it doesn't matter how you get there, as long as you do.
71. Michael Uruguay,
I'd expect to
24.
say that from Michael Smith, because he loves double 15.
Well, he's good mates with Michael Smith, Anthony Lopez, but I wouldn't recommend, I don't think even Michael to go that route.
How does Rosie hit this now? He's got no angle. He might have a quarter of the bed at the bottom.
12.
It's the bit he went for, but he
Anthony
couldn't pin it.
Uruguay, 30.
And does he think about splitting this?
Yes, on the second leg, Anthony Lopez. Third leg is Michael to throw first. Game on.
was his first leg of the match.
No
And
problem.
it evidently had Michael Rosenauer's second 180 on board as well.
Yeah, I played Anthony in the first round in the tournament last year, and since then he has had more stage
45.
experience. He played at the World Cup with Dyson, so you've got to think that he may be more prepared for this tournament than ever, but
100.
obviously the injury notwithstanding.
Yeah, well, first round loser obviously last year. Didn't get a leg against you.
31.
Must have had an awful day.
I don't even need to reply to that.
The year before he was a first round loser
80.
against Dimitri Vandenberg. Only got 2 legs on the board in that encounter. And then he's in danger of losing this leg by 400 points.
31. Michael Uruguay 141.
That doesn't happen very often. It's a good switch. He needs a 60 to leave a double.
65.
See that Michael's darts land very flat, and when he goes that high on the 60 shot, he's just covering the whole bed. He's got no flight angle.
Can't drop them in.
40. Michael Uruguay 76.
Anthony Lopez is really finding this tough. It's a wonder he got through the qualifier last night.
56.
Well, the money he earns tonight might pay for the damage on his bike.
It might do. Only bought it a week ago, so I imagine it's setting back a few quid.
What would Kevin Painter say?
How's
your
your
luck, pal?
luck?
41. Michael Uruguay 20.
Well, 20 required.
Yes,
20
on the third
scored.
leg,
And Michael Rosenauer
Fourth leg, it's Anthony to
makes
throw
it
first.
2-1.
Game on.
I think it's interesting. We've talked about Lopez getting through last night, where he won by scores of 6-1 and 6-3. But the way that Rosenauer got here, he took out a
59.
player called Wilco Vermeulen, who always seems to lose in the final of these South and East European qualifiers. He just never seems to get through. But there were a couple of other guys that he
60.
played. One was Jurjen van der Velde, who tried to qualify. He was in the JDC stuff this week. Obviously, he is the current world JDC champion.
Yeah, about to be deposed.
140.
And one Barry Van Peer, who was trying to get back into darts after some dartitis, and it's really good to see him playing a little bit better now.
140.
Yeah, it has been good seeing Berry getting some results on the Challenge Tour and what have you.
Yeah, he's a good guy, is Berry. He's a very talented dart player.
60.
Yeah, before dartitis struck, Barry Van Peer was a guy who really did look like he could be taking those next steps to becoming a Dutch
60.
star of this game, really.
Yeah, lost in the final of the World Youth, of course, to Corey Cadby. And he was a very dangerous floater at the floor tournaments. Nobody wanted to play him first round, that's for sure.
95.
I remember one of the titles that I won back in 2011 at Crawley. Beat Michael Rosenauer in the
55.
quarterfinals.
Anthony 147.
One thing Michael Rosenauer does have is experience. Treble 17 here. Okay. So, I mean, is he just going to keep on
139.
trying to leave double 15? Is that
I think that might be the case. He's already hit it in this match, so
60.
Yes, why not?
Anthony Uruguay 8.
Okay, let's just assume that Anthony Lopez is going to throw at trebles and try and leave himself 30.
well, next door is double 2. Back up top.
Yes, on the fourth leg, Anthony Lopez.
Well, Anthony, I'm just
Good
going to
leg
give you a
from
little bit
Michael
of
to throw
advice,
first.
mate.
Game on.
I know there's some adrenaline up there, but you want to be careful with that foot of yours.
Yeah, just that. It may have felt good, that celebration,
96.
but it might have felt immediately bad after that.
You don't want to do a Kirk Shepherd like at the Grand Slam. Get a bit vivacious about it, and then all of a sudden you twist your ankle.
$60.
Right, look, he must have been practicing for a good while today, Anthony Lopez, so he'll have been on his feet for quite some time.
Every time I went to the practice room
140.
in the last few hours, he's been on the board.
But it is different. You know, you have a practice, you can go and have a sit down for a couple of minutes whenever you want if it's starting to ache. This game, at the minute, looks like it could go long.
Well, dart players are stubborn mules, very much like other sports people. Look at someone like Kurt Angle, the wrestler. He won an Olympic gold medal with a broken neck.
I mean, you mentioned Whitlock. I mean, when he did his foot, he won a game or two at the World Championship, didn't he, that year?
Yeah, he averaged 100. Well, they stopped taking bets on Dennis Smith to beat Whitlock as he was climbing the stairs. They thought, well, he can barely make it up the stairs. They thought, well, Whitlock's never going to win this game. He went up and averaged 105, and Dennis Smith didn't know what hit him.
Yeah, beware the injured man. It's certainly not helped Anthony Lopez here. But at the minute, he's still
31.
Still just about in this game, because Rosenauer, despite averaging 15 points more than him, is not putting him to bed.
There's many a story of
60
dart players having certain ailments and doing really well. I remember Mervyn King, just over a decade ago, he made the semis of the World Match Play and he had a big abscess on his tooth.
It can almost focus the mind.
134.
You're just concentrating on the pain or the injury, then everything else is just automatic, and you practice for so many hundreds and thousands of hours at this game. It can actually help. And Lopez has given himself a chance of breaking the throw here and going into the lead. I'm not completely confident this first dart goes in the 60. If it does, he gets 2 darts from the leg.
How does he leave double 15 from here?
Oh.
10 double 15.
Maybe not. The conventional route.
60.
Oh, and he cannot find double top.
8.
That was such a good chance. Gets that 60 and 2 at tops to take the lead. And Rosie has a guide. He doesn't take out double 2. And Lopez, with the help of this Gibraltarian crowd, should be ahead now. Two fives.
30.
And I'm not sure he was that confident on that dart.
2.
It's quite a way away. He has no angle. He needs to create one.
No score. Anthony Aguirre 10.
1 up, 1 in is the old mantra. The first one was great, but he just couldn't find a way into the double. And Lopez wants double 2. And he's in the madhouse again. And this is turned into a real pub leg. Madhouse for the pair of them.
Double madhouse.
Yes, on the 5th leg. Michael
Gets there. It's all about just getting there
Anthony
sometimes.
To throw first. Game on.
We weren't in the madhouse with both players for very long. Could I ask you a question, Dan, now, because we've been coming to Gibraltar for quite a few years now. Where do you think Gibraltar Darts stands right now?
58.
Well, I think seeing Justin Hewitt come through the qualifier, and all right, he lost, but I think that is as encouraging a sign as we've seen.
180.
Now, Anthony Lopez, despite barely being able to walk, has just fired in a no-look 180 pretty much there, I think.
Who do you think is Ronaldinho? That was a proper no-look 180.
That's astonishing. He's averaging far more when he's not looking at the board than when he is.
The sheer audacity of it, Dan. It's almost like he knew we were talking about Gib darts. He didn't want us to. He wanted us to choose the subject.
Well, Anthony and Dyson have been the leading players in Gibraltar for some time. but we've not, you know, Anthony's got a full-time job. Is he going to do it again? You going to look?
140.
I was talking to Dylan Duo earlier this afternoon, who told me that he's trying to get back into playing darts. He does a bit more of the organisational stuff
Anthony
these days.
81.
But Dylan's had an operation on his leg, I believe his ankle, and he's starting to feel good after that. So I think he's going to get back into it.
17 left.
That's 17 left.
Don't bust it, Tony.
65.
And he's having all kinds of fun around that section of the board, isn't he? Leaving the double, hitting the treble accidentally, missing double 2 and end up in the madhouse on more than one occasion.
Here requires 16.
So for a level game at 3-all. Working his way in.
Doing the Happy Gilmore, getting closer.
No score. Michael Maguire 125.
This would sting. And soft tip players in Germany would love this shot. Oh yeah, get the 25. Oh, Michael, you're too good. Too good.
140.
How do you hit 2 bullseyes
16.
and then can't hit a big 9?
I love this game sometimes. Gotta get this. And he's
Nice.
missed it.
Michael Uruguay
Rosenauer
11.
has left himself 11. And he was in this department in the last leg. This time he doesn't mess around.
Michael Rosenauer.
And he's stolen that leg
Seven
away
leg
from
is
Anthony
Michael to throw
Lopez,
first.
who should have had
Game
it many
on.
darts ago.
Well, Anthony Lopez there had left 81 after 9, and then he's made a horrendous mess of things. And look at that. They've both had 18 darts at double.
45.
And Rosenauer, his 22% checkout rate is made to look gargantuan by Lopez, who's only got half of it. This, I mean, pick any combination of scores from 6
46.
legs, it could be. Rosenauer has been the more consistent player, there's no question about it, but it's just been a
60.
real slog between these two. It looks as if Michael Rosenauer is going to get this job done. The more, like, if Anthony Lopez could have come out and just put a couple of decent legs together and get his nose in front, and see him real straining with that last dart. If he put a couple of decent legs together, maybe a bit of adrenaline or something, would get him through, the pain might fade away, he could just play his normal game. But when you're under pressure, when you're behind, it's going to start playing on his mind even more. That leg is going to be throbbing, or the foot is going to be throbbing even more.
Can you imagine if he's been on a few painkillers today, and he's been on his feet practicing and playing this evening, how much it's going to hurt tomorrow?
50.
Yeah, I don't even want to think about that.
Don't think he's going to have a problem getting a sick note.
60.
Well, he's better than this, Lopez. We know that because we've seen it. But events have conspired against him this week in Gibraltar. What has been a festival of darts for
60.
Gibraltarians on the rock, with all the JDC stuff going on all week.
It's been exciting, hasn't it?
It's been fabulous watching, you know, very nearly Justin Hewitt making the final of their World Championship at Ali Pali,
58.
but qualifying for this, giving a decent account of himself as a 17-year-old. Dyson, obviously, with that incredible come-from-behind victory against Core Decker. Admittedly, with a big old slice of fortune, but he won it.
100.
Unfortunately for Anthony,
Michael 138.
it looks like it's just a bit too much here for him.
Yeah, Rosie's just hitting too many
80. Anthony
trebles.
145.
at certain times.
Yeah, I mean, it's not good from Rosenauer, but at the minute, it's good enough.
Yeah.
77 scored.
Back up the 60 here.
95.
Well, evidently
Michael
not.
58.
Should be 5-2. Double 10. And it is
Yes, on
5-2.
the seventh leg, Michael
He's
Rosenauer.
had a couple of legs where the doubles have
I think it's
worried
Anthony
him.
to throw first.
But
Game on.
aside from that, he's been quite good.
Well, Anthony Lopez, evidently the foot is the problem, but I'm growing slightly concerned that he might be slightly concussed because his counting is all over the shop today. Now, it made you just can't think clearly because he's obviously thinking about his foot.
83.
And the thing is, it's not a pattern of behaviour. When we've watched him in the last few seasons, he hasn't done this.
Yeah, you've never watched Anthony Lopez and gone, oh, he goes weird ways. It's pretty conventional stuff.
55.
I mean, I don't think you gave him a dart at a double last year. Well, he might have had one, but you didn't get to see him at the back end of legs very much because Nicholson-inspired weekend blasted his way through to the semi-finals.
So it was a nickel weekender.
It was, yeah. I mean,
They don't come around very often.
no, they don't. Not anymore. Used to.
That's
140.
much better. The grouping on those 3 darts. Brilliant.
It's just so much effort for him, though, isn't it?
That's going to have to be from here. He's going to have to go 4 legs perfect.
Yeah, and he doesn't look like he's got that in him. He looks
100.
like he's got a couple of visits back-to-back that you can get through, but then it just goes awry again.
$44.
You can imagine if Anthony Lopez played against Kevin Painter, who walks out to I Predict the Riot.
Yeah.
It's the perfect opponent for him, isn't it?
100.
That's the perfect visit from Rosenauer, who puts himself in a match-winning position now. That 180 has given himself a 2-darter, and Lopez left himself on a bogey number.
Well, that's it. It's only the 8th leg. Rosenauer's hit 3 180s, and he's still averaging mid-70s. Ladies and gentlemen, Michael Rosenauer.
132.
He's left himself double 15 again.
55.
Anthony Lopez. Just somebody give him some smelling salts or something. I think his head's gone wrong. But he might be going out of the tournament. Michael
15.
Rosenauer lets him have a go at his beloved double 15.
30.
The double that he keeps on leaving. Why do you keep leaving it?
We're about to find out. That's
Yeah,
why. He really does
Anthony
like it.
Lopez.
The only other player in the
Ninth leg
world
is
that I
Michael
know
to throw
that likes
first.
double 15 as much as this guy
Game
is
on.
Fallon Sherrick.
Really, just Fallon won't leave it as many times as Anthony's left it in this game, surely.
Oh no, she doesn't leave it on purpose, but she just loves it.
I mean, look,
60.
Michael Smith does like the double 15. And he is good mates with Michael Smith, but even Michael Smith doesn't leave it. He only leaves it when he's got 90 and goes on the 20s and 150 and he sticks 2 treble 20s in.
Yeah, sometimes when he's got to do a
100.
deliberate switch because of a blocked bed,
Yes.
he might go, I don't know, say 54 double 15 or something
Yeah.
like that.
But very, very curious. Either way,
40.
he's got a leg on the board again, and the gap is down to 2, but he's got to win 3 more legs.
You've got to say, when he does leave it, it's not bad.
85.
One thing I will say about Anthony as well is he's been very straight. There's been a lot of good straight starts, but the weight hasn't been at its premium.
100.
Some real effort in every single dart, isn't there?
95.
It's a real grimace, isn't it? It's a little purse of the lips with Rosie. Every dart player, if you look at the right side of the
80.
screen, has a little idiosyncrasy. I used to smile for some reason.
It's about the only time you did on stage.
Pretty much. That didn't last long. Of course, MVG used to be noted for having his mouth open,
Yeah.
as did Shane Burgess and Colin
100.
Monk.
Christian Kist, one of those guppy-mouthed throwers. Catching flies with every dart.
57. Anthony 121.
Now, is there life in this game? It would be an unlikely comeback. 11 segment. Bullseye.
Cracking leave.
85. Michael
It's
164.
unlikely that Rosie's going to take the 164.
But it's possible.
Heart and mouth stuff
96.
there for Tony
Anthony
Lopez.
Maguire 36.
And somewhat conventionally, 36. He's just checking. It isn't double 15.
Single 6? You could leave it. Maybe he's wishing he had. Oh
Yeah,
no!
ninth leg,
And here we
Anthony
go,
Lopez.
a smile on the face of the Gibraltar
Leg is Anthony
copper.
to throw first.
Well, surely Hot Fuzz is going to be as comfortable with the temperature here than anybody.
Game on.
You can see that Rosie is not as comfortable as Tony is.
Well, look, Marco Rosenauer did ride his luck last time out on the Euro Tour.
46.
He had more than a slice of fortune in his victories over De Decker and Krzysztof Ratajski. Krzysztof Ratajski looked like he'd been at a voodoo doll with more pins
108.
than was strictly healthy, but Rosenauer still managed to win legs by producing some decent visits every now and again. And in this match, he's produced some decent visits here and there. There's been some dross in between, but that's a fourth 180 from Rosie.
It's making for a very intriguing climax to this match.
Hang about. Oh, my.
140.
Well, a 9-darter in this game would be the most baffling 9-darter I think I've ever seen.
Yeah, I totally agree with that.
Well, we've seen the double missed for the 9-darter by Ryan Joyce today. Third game of the day against Matt Clark.
It wasn't far away. He was
97.
right on the wire.
Well, he's got some fans. He's doing his best to dig in, not to disappoint them. Fair play to Anthony Lopez for
60.
getting 4 legs here. Some players might not have even been able to fulfill their duties of turning up and playing, having been thrown off his motorcycle yesterday. But he's left himself a check out, and it's marginally easier than the 1-2-1. Treble 20.
What's going to happen if Lopez takes this out? Now, surely, I've got my hands together. Tony, don't go 18s first.
Don't
Don't
go
hit the
5s
fives.
first. Really don't go 5s first. 18s is a better option than 5s.
56 left. Surely it's double 30.
Well, I did think that.
59.
Doesn't matter. It's all in the hands of the German to get rid of this game. It's been tricky. Double 4. And he does get there in the top corner. Rosie has negotiated Hot Fuzz. He's negotiated the police player from Gibraltar who has valiantly put up a fantastic effort here. But Rosie does go through. He's going to play Ian White tomorrow. The number 2 seed is going to take some stopping. And if Rosenauer is going to get through Ian White, he's going to have to raise his performance probably by about 20 points. Stay with us. Next game is Dimitri Vandenberg against Scott Taylor. Should be a very interesting match, that one.
Anthony Lopez. Rosie, congratulations, good gespielt. A tough game, but you got the win.
Yes. That's the only target to win this game. So the score sometimes okay. But today I'm not so happy with my doubles.
The doubles were a bit of a struggle, but a win is a win. And you showed at the International Darts Open that your experience, you've won thousands of games of darts in your career. You can find ways to win even when you're not playing your best.
Yes. I must more practice.
Ladies and gentlemen, Michael Rosenauer, he will take on Ian White, a 2-time winner on the European Tour this year already in the second round.